I want to give my thoughts on a pretty hot topic that's been happening in the GD community, or rather two topics that really do bother me. So in this video, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the Demons List and the rate standards and talking about the things that I think need to change to make Geometry Dash an overall better experience. So I think what I'm going to do is first I'm going to be talking about the Demons List, and then I'm going to be talking about the rate standards and just giving my thoughts on how this works. So first of all, the Demons List. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about how the Demons List is really biased and how they can't rank top ones properly, which then evolved into people talking about how top ones don't matter at all and how people care too much about top ones. I want to talk about that and kind of just give my thoughts on how I feel about this game as a whole. So Geometry Dash, to me, I never really cared about top ones. The idea of being the best player doesn't really excite me that much. There are extremes that I eventually want to get good enough to beat. However, I don't want to get good enough to beat them because they're extremes and I want to be a good player. I want to get good enough to beat them because I like the levels. Levels like Cataclysm, or Bloodbath, or Freedom Dive, or Sonic Wave. I don't want to get good at the game because I want to beat hard levels. I want to get good at the game so I can beat levels like these, especially levels like Freedom Dive, which just look really fun to play. And hell, maybe if I get good enough, I could beat unrated extremes like Ocular Miracle. That's what I want to do with this game. That's my end goal. Playing levels that are super difficult that I find fun. You'll probably never see me play Tartarus or Acheron because they just don't look fun. Now, don't get me wrong, my stance on that could change. Maybe if I get better at the game and I do a practice run of Tartarus and enjoy it, then I will decide to beat it. But for now, Tartarus doesn't look fun, so I'm not considering that to be my end goal. I just don't give a shit about Tartarus, and I feel this way about a lot of top 10s. So now that you have a good idea of where I stand on the Demons List and where I stand on progression, I want to talk about my big fundamental flaw with the Demons List, and the thing that personally bothers me more than anything else. See, as a player in this game, I'm not great, but I'm also not bad. A lot of people will tell you that if you can beat hard demons, you're already way better than the majority of the game's player base, and so I guess that means I'm a good player, but I don't consider myself to be that good at this game. That being said, my current hardest is an insane demon called Stalemate. Stalemate has a lot of medium to hard demon gameplay. However, some of the UFO timings at the mid-section of the level, and especially how difficult the mini-ship Straightfly is, makes it round out to being Insane Demon. Although, it's extremely entry Insane Demon, and there are even people I've talked to who've said that it's not even my hardest, and that Words, Words, Words is harder, although I think Stalemate is harder than Words, Words, Words. So, my current skill set is very entry Insane Demon to hard demon. I can't even beat Necropolis, so if I open up the Demons List right here, you can see the Demons List in all its glory, going from Acheron to Delta Interface, which is about to fall off the list. So we have the Demons List here. Why does this matter? So the beautiful thing about the Demons List, and one thing I really like about it, is that they have what's called a time machine. And the thing about the time machine is it allows you to look at the Demons List in the past. So let's go back to January of 2017, and you can tell this is old because Artificial Ascent, Suck Up in Hell, Bloodbath, Infernal Abyss, and Athanatos are the top 5. And if you go to the bottom of the list, it has insane demons like the Janus Miracle, Wolf Step, Plasma Pulse 2, Night Terrors, Creeper Force, X Adventure, Element X, Duello Maestro, Future Circles, Light Years, Crimson Clutter, and it just goes on. And only after a certain point do you get to extremes like Kata. The thing is, with this in mind, let's fuck with the time machine a bit. My point starts to shine through whenever you start slowly incrementing the dates of the list. So if we go back to January 1st, like we had it before, note the top 5. Artificial Ascent, Sockop Hell, Bloodbath, Infernal Abyss, and Athanatos. If I then go to the time machine and I push the date forward a bit, so let's do the same year, but let's go my birthday of July 15th. Now you can see it is Sonic Wave, Erebus, Yatagarasu, Artificial Ascent, and Bausha Vortex. So this makes sense, right? But the most important thing is if you go to the bottom, Wolf Step is here, and it goes up to 74 now. And we're gonna keep track of Wolf Step. Let's set the date to January 1st of 2018. So now we're a year ahead of 2017. So if we scroll down to the bottom, it's Catastrophic, the Janus Miracle, Necropolis, Delta Nova, Sparkling Ocean, and Wolf Step is actually at 108, so it has moved up. So Wolf Step is still on the list. Let's do January 1st of 2019. So if we scroll to the bottom, though, it goes down to 150. And this is a big moment. 150 levels on the Demons list, and Wolf Step is at the bottom. So now is where my problem with the Demons list starts to shine. If we go to the time machine yet one more time, and we go to 2020, January 1st. If we go to the bottom, it's still at 150, but Wolf Step isn't here. In fact, if we Control F for Wolf Step, it's gone. Wolf Step is not on the list. So, okay, where is the level? This was on the list before. Well, this is when they added what they called the Legacy list. The Legacy list is where they throw a bunch of levels that aren't hard enough to be on the Demons list. And this is where my problems with the Demons list really start to shine. Because if we search Wolf Step, it's right here on the Legacy list. So if you don't know what I'm referring to, we're back to the 2017 Demons list again. So Sonic Wave, Erebus, Yata, and Artificial. And say your hardest is a mid-tier Insane Demon. Like say it's Ultraviolet by Viprin, right? You could have used this list as a guideline for how to jump to extremes. You could say, oh, my hardest is Ultraviolet and the Janus Miracle is above it, so I should go for the Janus Miracle. Or maybe you want to do a bigger jump. Maybe you feel the need to jump from Ultraviolet to Plasma Pulse 2. Hell, if you really wanted to get interesting, you could just beat these levels in order, and eventually that would get you up to Crimson Clutter, which is a very difficult Insane Demon. And then from there, you would eventually be up to Quest for Perfection, and then finally you would get to ICDX, which I don't think I need to tell you, would be a massive milestone for the player. So what I'm referring to is at this point in time, the player could have actually used the Demons list to improve their skill set and get better at the game just by simply looking at what levels were harder and easier than their current hardest. So right now, we are currently on July 15th, 2020 on the Demons list, and obviously this isn't accurate because nowadays people think the Golden is easier than Tartarus, and it's kind of funny looking back at this. The reason we are here is for one level. Killbot. Killbot is a ridiculously difficult Extreme Demon memory level. No matter how you slice it, Killbot is tough. For a long time, people thought this level was impossible. If you are around this point on the Demons list and need to improve on memory, like maybe Auditory Breaker is your hardest, the Demons list easily tells you to jump from Auditory Breaker to Killbot. And that's good advice, right? The problem is that as the Demons list progresses, eventually Killbot is no longer on the list. Let's go to January 2022. And I guess just to stick with the theme, we'll go with 20. The thing about this list is Killbot is now at 104. And you can see how quickly in the last 2 years it has moved down. Now if we go to the time machine again, and we go to, I guess, let's go to my birthday, July 15th of 2022. Killbot is at 127. So it's quickly tanking. So now let's go to today's actual date where Acheron, Slaughterhouse, Abyss of Darkness, Silent Clubstep, and Sockop Circles is the top 5. We're going to Control F for Killbot, and oh, would you look at that, Killbot is no longer on the list. I have a massive problem with this. I personally think levels that were on the Demons list should stay on the Demons list, and they should just constantly increase the number. There is no reason the Demons list should stop at 150. I especially hate the idea of taking levels that used to be on the list and dumping them on the Legacy list like this, because the Legacy list is not ranked. And if you try to say that the Legacy list is ranked, well, by that logic, Cataclysm is harder than Falling Up, but easier than Duelo Maestro. Yeah, an entry extreme being easier than a mid-tier insane. See, I really do think this is the Demons List's biggest flaw, because this causes the Demons List to favor top players more than it does people who are just starting out. And the problem with that is that this Demons List, the same levels will never be on it. Every single level that is on the Demons List right now will someday fall off. A lot of people might be watching this video and thinking this isn't an issue now. However, just wait for another 4 years to go by and Slaughterhouse is not even on the list. I think, in order to fix the Demons list, they should just put every single Extreme and Insane on the list. There's already an Insane Demons list, there obviously is already an Extreme Demons list, and at one point the Demons list had Insane Demons on it. So in order to make this list decent, you should just put every Insane Demon and every Extreme Demon on the list. And to the people who argue, but list points though, that's something else that I need to get into. For those of you who don't know, if you beat levels that are still on the Demons list, you get list points. These points mean nothing in the grand scheme of things. Since the Demons list is unofficial, you don't get anything in GD. Nothing special comes of this. List points are inherently valueless. I see list points as basically being the NFTs of the Geometry Dash community. The only difference, however, is that people actually want list points. See, the issue with list points is that they only hold value on the Demons list, and as I've already explained, the Demons list only matters if you're a top player, which is really, really toxic. And hell, even if you do care about list points, there's another problem. I have seen so many situations where someone will be going for an extreme that's on the list, and then right before they beat the extreme, the level falls off the list. Therefore, the person cannot get list points for the level that they started grinding for list points. It's really dumb that you cannot earn list points for a level if it falls off the list. I really do think that's dumb. Now, I'm not saying you should be able to earn list points for every level on the Demons list. I'm going to suggest something different entirely. Get rid of list points. They're fucking useless. Even if you cared about list points, I can only imagine how bad they are for your mental health. The idea that you should beat a super difficult level, not because you enjoy it, but because you need them list points, you're going to end up playing a bunch of levels that you hate, demotivate yourself, and then just not want to play the game anymore. And if you don't believe me, look at Aeon Air. He had to ask to be banned on the Demons list just so he would stop doing that to himself. For those of you that think ranking every Extreme and every Insane that's ever been on the list and just leaving there is a bad idea, let's look at Osu. So the thing with Osu is you can actually rank levels by difficulty in a similar way to the Demons list. You pick whatever game mode you want, so let's go with the normal Osu game mode. You select Ranked, and then you click on Difficulty. Doing this will now sort every single level by difficulty. So you have Aurelio Lee, probably not saying that right. You have Zerora, you have all of these. You get Deadly Force, Circus Chop. All of this is sorted properly in order by difficulty. And so if you wanted to improve at the game, like say maybe the hardest song you have an SS rank on is, I don't know, Ghost by Camellia, well, you could look at the songs above it and you could say maybe go for Burning Aquamarine by the same artist. And there you go, you're improving in skill until eventually you work your way up to the top. This works significantly better than the Demons list because of how many levels are on here. It's not just like the equivalent of Extremes and Insanes and that's it. This is every single ranked level. Like here's Freedom Dive. And it just keeps going. There's multiple versions of the Freedom Dive chart, by the way. But it goes down, it keeps going, and it's just every ranked song in the base game. And so, no matter your skill set, you can use this as a guideline to see what song you should play to improve at the game. It's perfect for progression. Currently with the Geometry Dash Demons list, the hardest level you can progress from is Delta Interface, which looks like this. And soon enough, this level isn't even gonna be on the Demons list, so even then, people whose hardest is Delta Interface, go fuck yourself, I guess, I don't know. So for those of you who want what I just described, a Demons list that doesn't favor top players, and a Demons list that allows people of lower skill sets to improve, might I suggest the Demon Ladder. The Demon Ladder is a really useful tool that solves most of the problems of the Demons list. So what the GD Ladder does is it applies a numerical tier to every single demon in the game. This doesn't just let you compare extremes to each other, it also lets you compare any demon to any demon. And on top of that, it lets you compare demons of the same difficulty to each other. Originally, I was going to make this a part of this video where I talked about the rating system and how bad it is. However, this video is already long enough, and so I think I'm going to have to make that a separate video on its own. So, all you need to know about the rating system for the sake of this video is that it sucks and it's really inaccurate. What I'm basically talking about is that you can have two levels that are radically different in regards to difficulty, yet they're the same difficulty in-game. For example, Hemi is rated Easy Demon. This is a really, really tough level. And it's the same difficulty as the Nightmare. Really think about that. So what the Demon Ladder does is it splits each difficulty into 5 tiers. So for Easy Demons, there is tier 1 through 5. The reason this is helpful is because now, instead of saying that the Nightmare is the same difficulty as Hemi, you say that the Nightmare is the same difficulty as Starpunk, which makes sense. And then, separately, Speed Racer and Crazy Bolt are the same difficulty, and then separate from that, you have X is the same difficulty as Spark, or Death Moon is the same difficulty as Running in the 90s, or Collapse is the same difficulty as Hemi, and that makes a lot more sense. Extreme Demons are probably the most broad difficulty in Geometry Dash. All I really need to tell you is that Accu and Silent Clubstep are the same difficulty, and you get it. That's why, instead of splitting Extremes into 5 tiers, they've split them into 15. So I'm going to show you one of my favorite things about the GD Ladder, and why it's immediately better than the Demons list. So on the GD Ladder, if I go to search, I can type in the name of my current hardest. So let's go with Stalemate. And we'll search for that. And as you can see, it's got a demon rank of 16. So now, if I remove this from the name thing and I type in 16, I can see levels that are on the same tier as Stalemate. So you have stuff like Windy Landscape, The Caverns 2, Audio Exertion, the first Plasma Pulse level, Poltergeist, Diamond D, Alphabet X, Fury Dynamics, and it just goes on, and you have all of these levels that are considered to be around the same difficulty. Some of these levels are really obscure, too. Like, these are levels that I wouldn't have known existed if it wasn't for this list. But yeah, you can find a bunch of levels that are the same difficulty. And now when you're comfortable with beating tier 16 levels, you can move on to tier 17. And tier 17, if it loads. So as you saw there, sometimes the site has issues with loading. That's like one of the downsides, but it's something that doesn't happen often. Either way, if we go to tier 17, which is a tier above Stalemate, now we get levels like Theory of Troll, Colorful Overnight, El Dorado, Madhouse, Critical Fusion. So these are all levels that I could jump to from Stalemate, and it would be a natural progression. Like here's Supersonic, which is a jump I've actually thought about making. Future Demoness, Hyper Blaster, Titanium Core, Firewall, Sadism, which was, if you remember, and this is where things get important, Sadism used to be on the Demons list back in 2017. And for those of you who think that the Demon Ladder can't be used as a top Demons list, well, what you can do is you can go to the maximum tier, which right now is, I believe, 35. If you go to tier 35, here is the current top 5. Silent Clubstep, Slaughterhouse, Abyss of Darkness, Sockabin Circles, and Firework. And here's something I need to talk about right off the bat. A big problem with the Demons list is that when you look at the top 5, they're supposedly ranked in order of hardest. So it goes Firework, then Sockabin Circles, then Silent Clubstep, then Abyss of Darkness, then Slaughterhouse, then Acheron. Now the problem with this is that, and what a lot of people have pointed out, this can basically never be accurate. Because there will always be someone who finds Slaughterhouse harder than Acheron. There will always be someone who finds Silent Clubstep harder than Abyss of Darkness. There will always be someone who finds Firework harder than Sockabin Circles. There will always be someone who finds Hard Machine harder than Oblivion. With the Demon Ladder, they don't try to tell you what the hardest is. They just give you a chunk of hardests. They don't say Slaughterhouse is the hardest level, or Acheron is the hardest level. They just say, these are the 5 hardest levels in the game. In my opinion, this is a much better approach for several reasons. However, the biggest reason I like this so much is because this is how the original Demons list worked. If you don't know, the Demons list started on Geometry Dash forums, and it looked like this. They never tried to rank them numerically hardest to easiest, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Instead, they just gave you tiers. And I really do think this is a much better approach to comparing levels like this. As far as I'm concerned, as long as the GD ladder exists, I'm never going to use the Demons list. Even if I do beat levels that are on the list, I'm not going to submit records. I'm not going to earn list points because I do not like the Demons list. I think it negatively affects the community in way more ways than the community realizes. When Bloodbath fell off the Demons list, a lot of people talked about it as if it was some kind of inevitability. Oh man, Bloodbath has been on the list for so long, it would have fallen off eventually. But in reality, Bloodbath is one of the biggest accomplishments any player will ever have. Ask any top player, and they remember their first time beating Bloodbath, even if their hardest is Acheron. Bloodbath is a big deal. So not accepting records for Bloodbath is just kind of a smack in the face to the entire community, because as far as I'm concerned, Bloodbath being completed should be this massive achievement that should be regarded as insanely respectable, and I think if you beat Bloodbath, you are a good player. But the Demons list doesn't agree, because the Demons list doesn't care about you. It just cares about top players, and that's all it'll ever care about. I mean, ask yourself this. Why is it that every time a top player plays a top 1, they say that the level is awful? It's because it is. These levels are made for no other reason than to be the hardest level. I know that Ice Cave has said that Slaughterhouse was not intended to be verified and that it was an impossible level, but that doesn't change the statement. Slaughterhouse was not made to be fun. It was made to look cool and be impossible. So, of course people don't enjoy playing it. And whenever people do enjoy a level on the Demons list, it's usually not top 1, and you can usually tell that the level wasn't made just for the Demons list. The levels that people enjoy are things like Verdant Landscape or Nelv. You know, levels with actual passion put into the creation process. And usually the only reason they're as hard as they are is because that's the skill set of the person who created it. Adding to this point, every time a top 1 is created, they have to decide between the level being top 1 and the level being fun to play. And usually the only way to make the level fun to play is to nerf it. Look at Cosmos. In order for them to make Cosmos fun, they'd have to nerf it. So they literally ran a community poll asking whether or not Cosmos should be nerfed or made top 1. Just the simple fact that this question had to be asked at all really shows why the Demons list is bad, because the question is literally, would you rather the level be fun, or would you rather it be top 1? All I'm saying is that the Demons list should not be used by the community. I really do not think this thing is beneficial, because the only purpose it serves is basically a dick measuring contest. It's a way for people to go, oh man, this level is the hardest level in the game because the list said so. But in reality, most people who are playing this game just don't care about what the hardest level is. Now, I'm not saying people don't care about top 1s at all. I'm saying people don't care about the number. They don't care about what the exact top 1 is. Obviously, levels like Slaughterhouse, Acheron, Abyss of Darkness, Sockabin Circles, Silent Clubstep, these levels are insane achievements that should be respected, especially for the people who beat them. And in a lot of cases, the people who do design them. Levels like Slaughterhouse are visually impressive and the decoration should be respected. It's a good level. What people don't care about is which level is the indefinite hardest. Who cares if Acheron is top 1 or Slaughterhouse is top 1? They're both hard levels, and at the end of the day, if you beat either of them, it should be considered an achievement. I just think it's much easier to say that Acheron is one of the hardest levels in the game, rather than saying Acheron is the hardest level in the game. Because in reality, the skill ceiling is so high that no matter what level is at the top 1, it's not going to be accurate. There are people watching this who suck at Wave, and so Slaughterhouse would be harder for them. But then there are also people who are amazing at Wave, and so Abyss of Darkness will be harder for them. It's really down to the player, and so this dick measuring contest is just toxic and unneeded. But yeah, those are my thoughts with the Demons list. I really do hope that this thing loses popularity as time goes on, because I really do think this is just not healthy for the GD community at all. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.